Okie doke. We're in business. So I just have to wait for that little red bar, I think, to complete it. There we go. Okay, great. And it doesn't look like there's anybody in the waiting room, so I will say hello to all and welcome. I am Lucy Helfrich, the Director of Program Services with the 300 Committee Land Trust. I think a lot of you know me by now. We are delighted to host tonight's talk, a presentation by the group who call themselves the Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage. Tonight, we're excited to learn who they are, what they do, and what motivates them. And just for the record, the 5 presenters tonight.
High caliber, you've got.
Whoops. Somebody is, I just muted someone. Okay, sorry about that. Before we get started, there are 5 presenters and I'm not sure I'm presenting their names in order, but I'll try. Susan Bauer, Robin Malavalin, Helen Mangelsdorf, Mary Grauerholtz, and Diane Hammer. And once they come on individually, they'll introduce themselves again, but just for the record, our 5 presenters. So before we launch the talk, I'd just like to say a few words about the 300 Committee. Again, most of you are probably quite familiar with who we are and what we do. Our land trust very much appreciates your membership support, which enables us to continue our important work of permanently protecting open space in Falmouth. If you aren't yet a member, we hope you'll consider joining us. Now, in our 37th year, the 300 Committee has helped preserve more than 2,500 acres of valuable land throughout our community. These many parcels include oak and pine woodlands, coastal and inland ponds, beach, salt marsh, rugged moraine, riverfront and upland, rare wildlife habitat, and more. The parcels we've protected safeguard drinking water and other water resources, scenic views, farmland, and many miles of trails. Protected and undeveloped forever, the lands belong to us all and contribute to Falmouth's natural beauty and our quality of life. We always have new parcels under review for possible acquisition, and we actively monitor and steward dozens of 300 Committee and town-owned properties through a comprehensive land management program. If you'd like to join us in active outdoor work, we always welcome new volunteers. And we hope you'll continue to enjoy programs like this. Our outreach and educational activities are almost always free and open to the public. And now I'd like to introduce our first speaker, a founder of Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage, Susan Bauer. And just a couple words about Susan. A little background about her. Inspired by Jacques Cousteau and her own scuba diving adventures from Iceland to the Canary Islands, Susan became fascinated by the history of oceanography and settled in Woods Hole in the 1960s to write on that topic. 2 books later, she turned her attention to psychology, another dark and unfamiliar world, became a psychologist and worked in both clinics and private practice and wrote more books. In her 60s, she started swimming in Cape Cod ponds and wrote the Turtle Sisters series of books for children. Susan and friends now try to help the ponds that have given them so much solace and pleasure. I now turn things over to Susan and the Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage. Thanks for joining us, all of our speakers and all of you in the audience. Susan, take it away.
Thank you, Lucy. I will give you a brief backstory of what's going on, how this started. And that was that in 2003, I moved to Chatham to be with Peter Wiseman. And that is when I first started swimming in ponds. I really preferred Buzzards Bay. But once I saw those ponds and saw what was inside them, which I will try to show you. Come on, guys. I quickly discovered that there was all kinds of wildlife in ponds and became particularly fascinated by musk turtles. This is a musk or stink pot turtle. What I found in ponds after I stopped being terrified of snapping turtles and being grossed out by mud and this feel of water lily stems on my legs, what I found was really the last pockets of undisturbed natural beauty on Cape Cod. They are so beautiful. If you think they're beautiful above water, they are 10 times more beautiful underwater. And you will see some of that tonight. Because I was really afraid of these ponds, one of the things that helped me to swim in more and more ponds and to swim farther and farther, eventually all the way around, whether that was 3/4 of a mile or a mile and a half, was that I would console myself by swimming from marker to marker. And so I would swim to a golf ball and then to a drowned log and then to a beer can. However, eventually I decided that that was too much litter. And so back in, probably 2008, this is the original group, Julia Benz, Paula Wiseman, and myself. And here we are in a Chatham pond, pulling out, as you can see, a mesh bag full of cans and balls and all sorts of things and a piece of soggy particle board. And once we had seen all that we got from that pond, on the spot, we formed the Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage. And we were so proud of ourselves because it's very cold. It's a cold, long job to pull the stuff out of the mud. And we, when we did it the first time, we immediately ran into trouble because we realized we'd all gone in wetsuits, and we realized that with the buoyancy of the wetsuit, we couldn't get down to a beer can that was even in 8 feet of water. So as you can see, Julia, the hardiest of us, took her wetsuit off. Paula actually added fins, and I took care of the shallows. And we came on this sort of odd thing that if we got a half a garbage can worth of trash, and you're only seeing a part of it here, we would reward ourselves with cookies. And that tradition has followed us. And so now people will even bring us cookies when we clean up their pond. So this original team went on and cleaned up a couple more ponds, but then alas, Peter died. I moved back to Falmouth, and the Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage moved back to Falmouth also. And we have since then done 4 or 5 ponds, and we do about that number per year. It involves being in the water an hour and a half, depending on the size of the pond and how much garbage there is. So one of the things I want to show you, actually, before I get to a video made by Monty Ladner, is I want to show you, just in case, and I'll show this to you again at the end, but here is our email, so that if anybody has further questions or wants to join us, I'll be talking about a volunteer event this coming June in Deep Pond. That is our email. At this point, we take people 64 years and of age and older, and you do really have to be able to swim a half a mile easily. Okay, so then the next thing that happened was that APCC commissioned, asked Monty Ladner to make a video for us. And I apologize if there's going to be ads, but I have not figured out how to get rid of them. So we'll just go through this. Okay, we're gonna.
Hey, I'm Matt from Pila, and I want.
Oh, be quiet.
At Pila, we're to invent
sorry about that. I also had figured out how to mute the damn thing. Okay, so they can go on and show you all that. And APCC got Monty Ladner to make a video of us. And that has been just wonderful and really will tell you a lot of what you know. And it's too bad they have so many ads. Okay, so we can skip
about compost.
Jobs.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
If you
we
just
go.
hit the button that says skip ads, it'll skip the rest of
doesn't-
it.
it
People
doesn't
throwing
come
things
on.
into the water, beer bottles, glass, metal beer cans, or just metal and glass.
Imagine if everybody felt obligated to protect the environment. I know some people like that.
Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage was formed 4 years ago in Chatham, and we've been cleaning up ponds ever since. We dive down, we grab the stuff, we toss it into a canoe or a kayak. It's a good thing to do.
All right.
Now you have a hood argument.
Excellent.
Let's tuck it under the,
That's really good to get out of this pond.
I feel like swimming in ponds with the OLOG group is like going on a treasure hunt where we start on dry land and then we dive in and immerse ourselves in the underwater world. And we're looking for things that don't belong. It's a different way of seeing.
Oh, and I love this one. This is for a sunny day. Of course, it's better on a lawn than in the pond, but it's still pretty. Hello, Monty. I think we got some good stuff. Uh-oh, I have to go get more. I'm being up. All right, I have to go, Monty, because they have more garbage for me.
I'm Mary Grauerholz. I live in Falmouth, and I'm a proud member of Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage. I've been doing this for about a year, and I love it. For me, the idea of it is very simple. I really, really love freshwater ponds. I love the fact that they belong to everyone, and think all that philosophy that goes with everyone having ownership, that it's really important to love them and to also give back.
Getting full, but I'll take your deposit. Got your deposit. Thank you.
Getting trash out of the pond is important for the health of the pond. And I love swimming. You're a doctor or something?
Well,
And a candy wrapper.
for me, it is amazing to see just how much garbage is in the pond. And when you see it all together and you look at the fender and the cans and the glasses, it's just stunning what people will just put into the water. And it's so bad for the fish, for nature, for all of us. So it just takes a second to put it in your boat and to take it home. Somebody enjoyed this at one point. Too bad they didn't take it home and put it in their own garbage.
Besides picking up pond garbage, Susan also does regular water testing for cyanobacteria at 2 ponds.
And I am here testing for cyanobacteria. It's an ancient organism that's been around for billions, but in moderate or high concentrations, it's a problem. It's dangerous for human beings, and it's really dangerous for pets. Years ago, it was not as much of a problem, but with global warming making the waters warmer, and with us inadvertently fertilizing the ponds and lakes, and what I mean by that is we have septic systems that are leaching nitrogen, phosphorus into the water. We have fertilizer that's running off fertilized lawns, going into the ponds that make them a really rich soup. So the toxic blue-green algae, the cyanobacteria, they multiply like crazy. And when they're at high levels, they leave a telltale green, almost a blue-green, paint-like scum. You can see globs of it floating in the water. You can see it on the shore.
Water is such a precious resource. And I just think, what can we do? What can I do? So one of the things that I learned from Susan is that I could pick up garbage. I could go into a pond and I could pick up a piece of garbage. And I have to say, I feel like I am making a difference, one piece of garbage at a time.
This is a terrific group, and we range from 64 to 81, and we go around different ponds, and we have done ponds from Chatham, Dennis, and now Falmouth.
granted, we have a beautiful glass here. I think it's really nice and polite when people drink their beer out of a glass, don't you? They just should. Don't you, that's nice. People are thinking when they do that. But it's filling my bucket because we're talking trash today.
And now on to Robin. Oh, sorry, guys. All right. Robin?
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Robin, and I'd like to start with thanks to our fabulous filmmakers. Our Falmouth neighbor, Monty Ladner, made the video we just watched. And in a few minutes, you'll be able to see the CBS Boston TV news story done by Jacob Wyckoff and his team. Both of the films had many cameras from all angles, even drones and a helicopter to film us from above. So they were both really exciting filming projects to be part of. So I approach each pond with a sense of wonder. What's under the silvery surface? What and who lives in there? How can we protect these precious places from humans? Underwater trash is invisible to us when we're on land. People put it in there and it disappears. So we enter in a few steps at first, and then we dive in, and the next thing you know, the old ladies against underwater garbage are immersed in the life of the pond. It is indeed a real treasure hunt. We're looking from side to side, scanning the bottom for anything that's shiny or a different shape or that shouldn't be in there. And trash that's been in there a long time is pretty well buried in the mud and has green algae or maybe some other things growing on it, making it's even harder to see through the water. But we found broken bottles and a lot of rubbery worms with fishing hooks in them. We're extra careful with those. We found 3 tires in a pond and helium balloons with their ribbons that seem to go on and on and on. When we got that piece of long metal flashing that you saw in the video, it was in an area where on previous swims, Susan and I had seen some pretty large snappers, but we knew we couldn't just leave the metal in there. And Susan said through her snorkel, we'll come back for that. Well, actually, with this on, it sounded more like, whoop, 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 but I knew what she meant. One of the more surprising things is the underwater graffiti. What could possibly be painted under the water, you might ask? Yeah, it's the tops of the shells of turtles. We see many turtles with numbers painted on them, 35, 22, Roman numerals, 9, 7. Like, why? Who would do that? It doesn't necessarily hurt them, but it's like humans marking on things that don't belong to us. It's so hard for some people to keep their hands off of nature. They think humans can do whatever we want to other beings that we share the planet with. It just, I don't know. Meeting Susan and being part of OLOG has really changed me. All right, we'll start with the scary part, which actually Susan mentioned. The mysteriousness of ponds, like what lurks in those dark underwater places that we can't see, and down there with the grasses and the muck. But now I love to be in there, and it's like the sparkling green water, and we're in there with our fish friends. And then swimming is the next thing for me. I've always been able to tread water and swim doing like the side stroke and this, whatever that is, but I've learned to really swim. I'm not fast, but with a mask and snorkel, my breathing is easier and I can keep my head in the water. Sometimes Susan will say, let's go around this whole pond. Right, yeah. Well, but then first I was like, I don't know if I could do that. But then, yeah, I'm up for the challenge. Sure, let's do it. So we did. She let me know when we were like a quarter of the way, halfway. Last fall, I swam a whole mile. What a good feeling it was for me being immersed in the underwater world for a whole mile.
Also, I've been doing some underwater photography and filming, and I'd like to share a brief clip with you now. So I'm going to screen share. So it's been really fun for me to be able to do some underwater filming and photography. So to close, once when we had planned to do a pond cleanup, it was raining really hard, and our old log ladies, of course, went in anyway. We're like the mail delivery. We go in, rain or shine. Under the surface of when it's the pouring rain, it's like silent. My experience was it was really quiet, silent. And we look to the side, and we might see some bass, and they're watching us, and they're staying still, except for their fins, as we pick up the garbage around them. It's as if they're saying thank you.
Helen, to you.
Okay. I'm Helen Mangelsdorf, and among the places that I was lucky to grow up was here. Also Chicago and Lake Michigan, and also my mother's family lived on the largest natural lake in Pennsylvania. So I have been blessed to have water around me my entire life. As I have paid more attention to the world, I've begun to realize that water is probably the single biggest issue facing us as we continue to degrade the climate, that we are getting heavier storms and more runoff. And then we have periods of drought or fire, or where, depending where we are. I've seen here in Falmouth, summers be hotter than I ever remember, and months of drought where we have to ration water. And it has seemed so crazy to me. And I've been very concerned about it. And so when I knew that I was going to move back to Falmouth to retire with my husband, I contacted the Falmouth Water Stewards and some other groups like the 300 Committee that I knew were doing work that I wanted to endorse and support. And I offered to volunteer. And Susan got in touch with me. I got in touch with the water stewards. I said, I'm happy to help you. And Susan's contacted me, said, why don't we meet? Why don't we swim together? So we swam in Crocker Pond, which is the one near Bourne Farm at the base of Thomas B. Landers Road, which has runoff issues, FYI, also from the sewage treatment plant up the hill. But she had never been there before, and it was very, we had a beautiful swim together, and then she suggested we swim again. So we went to another pond and I joined her, and as we were swimming, being trained as a visual artist, I am very attentive to details, and I kept seeing all these beer cans and stuff. So by the time we got back from our swim, I had my bathing suit was bulging, and I was pulling out beer cans, and so that she was like, I have a group for you to join. The Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage, you're natural. So I'm the latest member of the group. That's how I got to be part of it. And my feeling is that people have so little understanding about how precious everything in the world around us is. They have no idea that the plants that they let their dog run through at the edge of the water will destroy them forever. They don't know that the dog poop that they don't pick up on the beach is just gonna end up in the water and make it so nobody can swim there. And I was a elementary school teacher for many years, and I taught art, which involved people having to wash brushes and things at the sink, which is quite undertaking. If you ever tried shepherding 25 people under the age of 10 through a sink quickly. And some of the children love to turn on the water and just run it full blast. And I was like, no, you're wasting water. And they're like, huh? I said, you're wasting water. This is drinkable water. This water has been treated so it's safe to drink. And there are many people in the world that don't have water to drink, or they're running out of water. And they're like, no. I said, you can drink, you can drink water straight out of the sink. And they said, oh no, we couldn't drink out of the sink. I said, yes, you could. It's the same water that goes in the drinking fountain in the hall. And I said, you could even drink the water out of the tank on the toilet. That's the same water. They're like, no, you could never drink that. It's like, it's the same water, guys. I don't think they ever got the message, but that's my feeling. Like, until we all understand that the water is precious, that we have no business irrigating sand with treated water for human consumption while we're overpopulated in an area that's very vulnerable, we have no hope. We need water. We need to protect water. We need to do anything we possibly can to save it. So that's my spiel, sticking by it.
All right, I'm going to try to do the CBS, and I'm going to apologize right away because, again, there are those dreadful advertisements which I have not figured out how to make disappear. As soon as that little arrow comes on and says skip ads, I will do it, I promise. And I will get them muted. Anyway, as this gets going, I will say that in June, we are going to have a volunteer event so that if anyone is interested in joining us or seeing us, that we will be happy to just email us and we will be happy. There we go.
Protecting the state's beloved lakes from pollution. It is a tough job that requires determination, time, and old age. As WBZ meteorologist Jacob Wyckoff reports, to dive for underwater waste, one local group sets their age limit high.
Look at this. It's kind of treasure hunt for stuff that's not supposed to be there.
Meet Dr. Susan Bauer.
Diane, come on out so we can splash.
She's 81 years young and the founder of Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage.
When you see a trashy place, you treat it like a piece of trash. The cleaner the pond, the cleaner it will stay.
For the last 4 years,
Here's this little squiggly piece of plastic.
her group has been pulling trash from some of the 996 freshwater ponds on Cape Cod.
Drowned dog toys, beer cans. People apparently cannot exist for more than 2 minutes without eating or drinking something.
The oddest?
A garden gnome. A treasure on land ceases to be a treasure once it's underwater.
If you're thinking about joining this group, there are a few requirements.
For one thing, you've got to be over 64.
Am I going to be able to swim with you today?
You could not keep up with any of us. I guarantee you.
I mean, that's probably true. Challenge accepted. What's the current water temperature today?
55.
That sunny November day, 4 old ladies and 1 bald guy waded through Deep Pond in Falmouth, finding all sorts of underwater waste. A few golf balls. I found some old fishing gear, even a cinder block.
Oh my God, that is heavy. You have to ask yourself how some of this got in the pond.
A kayak, our on-the-water trash hauler for any items we found. To anyone who thinks getting old means feeling old, Bauer and the ladies are proving that's just rubbish.
That's really one of our secret weapons, is that we don't care what we look like. We can be encased in black stuff. We can drag stuff out of the ponds. We are past the age when vanity is, do a match with the kayak. It's now too good for the planet.
The shallows of Deep Pond in Falmouth. Meteorologist Jacob Wyckoff, WBZ News.
Yay. Now, I hope we will hear a few words from Mary Grauerholtz. Mary, are you around?
Unmute.
Mute what?
She has to unmute.
Oh, Mary, are you there and are you unmuted?
If she's there, but she isn't unmuted.
Mary, you got to unmute. Where is Mary?
There she is.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
There
Unmute
you go.
again, Mary. Mary, unmute again.
Okay, how is this?
Good.
Wait, you got muted again.
That's so bizarre.
Maybe Lucy has to unmute her. Oh, you're
Yeah.
unmuted.
He probably does.
Okay, so I'm okay now?
Yes.
We're always okay.
Love that. Okay, thank you. Okay, guys, well, I am sorry about that, by the way. Not sure I kept getting muted, unmuted. The location that you just saw is beautiful Deep Pond in Hatchville, and that's where I live. And it's just, I mean, all the ponds are beautiful. Deep Pond is a designated state pond, and I'm sorry, Great Pond. And it makes it sort of extra special. I've lived here for a long time, and that's where I met Susan, on the shores of Deep Pond. And that was about 18 months ago. I joined Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage, and it's really changed me. It's been an amazing thing. The comradeship and just a group project. I love the communal aspect of it. And it also has gotten me to look at Deep Pond in a really different way. Before our Old Ladies venture, I could only see, I'd look out the window, we're right over the pond, and I'd look out the window and it was just this gorgeous, serene, very beautiful, natural looking place. And once we started diving for garbage, it was pretty astounding, as you saw in the video and so forth. So I have to say, I look at it kind of differently. It's in a good way. It's a little bit more realistic, and I appreciate it for all that it is, because I know that we can do something about what is below the surface. A lot of the ponds on the Cape, a Deep Pond has been degrading in recent years, and we knew that. It's all the usual suspects, runoff, fertilizer, which we have cut down. The pond has become very aware of that, but of course, human development. But a side story is that about 3 years ago, I and another resident of Deep Pond, Kim Comart, started Deep Pond Preservation Project. It's a nonprofit that's all about educating people and informing people about the pond and how we really need, to be careful. We started with 10 people. So Kim and I kind of beat the bushes or whatever and got about 10 people to back us. And we all pitched in $100 of household, and we got to work. And now our mailing list is about 85 or 90 people. And we've got just an excellent, it's just excellent in every way. Community involvement. I hear people talking about what we're doing. People come to us and say, can you help us with our pond? And we always very freely share our materials in our contacts, and anything else we can share, to make a difference with other ponds. Another aspect that I love about what we're doing is that we've been able to, tackle this idea of pond degradation by networking and being someone who really loves communal energy and involvement. The actual sort of spreading of the networking has been very exciting for me. So our group, the Deep Pond Preservation Project, is very much tied to OLOG. And OLOG, we've done 2 cleanings here, and they were, as you saw, they were major. And we also work with the Falmouth Water Stewards. And I also want to note that I see on the shoreline a real difference, because as Susan said in the video, that if people care about a pond, it shows. Somehow people start to see that there's some care going on, and people kind of fall in on with that. And I have seen an amazing difference on the shoreline. We all have, I believe, people taking care more, and we have posted some signs which do help too. But I have definitely seen that it does take a group to do something of this magnitude, or really, I guess, to do anything. But you know, of course, it increases the you know, what we're able to produce out of the work, but it also makes it a whole lot more fun. It's very inspiring. And I've just found personally a really big satisfaction and pleasure and fun in doing this work, you know, with OLOG, and seeing us tying and interlocking, you know, with other local groups. Anyway, it's just been very, very satisfying. And I guess I have to tell you that I never would have guessed that my new passion in my old lady years would be collecting garbage and in ponds. And I have to tell you, I love just referring to what we do is I'll say, oh yeah, we're going to go dive for garbage. And everybody thinks we're going dumpster diving. And it's just very, very fun. And anyway, it's very satisfying and very gratifying to know that we are making a difference, one piece of garbage at a time. And I can see it from my window, you know, from our house over Deep Pond. And in myself, I see a much more optimistic future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane.
Hi. I'm Diane. I met Susan Bauer a year and a half ago, just after I moved to Falmouth. Before coming to the Cape, I worked at Simmons University for 41 years. I dealt with budgets, meeting agendas, and strategic plans. Now I work with gloves, a laundry basket, a baseball cap, and water shoes. These are the tools of the trade for a garbage collector. And you also need a good attitude. Usually when people are giving you trash, it's not the greatest thing, but when the OLOG ladies hand me garbage, it is of course a gift. It's one more thing out of the pond that doesn't belong. The ladies call my name. They're holding up the garbage while treading water. So I have to get to them quickly. They're wet and they're trying to stay afloat. Me, I like being dry in a kayak. My favorite garbage was that big piece of flashing that people refer to that must have flown off someone's house into the pond. It was my kayak hood ornament, and as the garbage collector for this group, I really felt that I needed a hood ornament for the kayak, but I couldn't keep that there. They didn't think that was not a good idea, but maybe get something different another time. So as you heard, some of the pieces of garbage that we find are Fireball whiskey nips. That's a very popular pond drink. Tennis balls, mostly slimy green. Golf balls, lots of cans, usually crushed. Not sure why folks take the time to crush the cans. You would think if you're going to take the time to do that, it would be just as easy to toss it in a bag and take it home. But, sometimes I do think that I'm a little too old for this, but when Susan texts, I answer the call. Most importantly, doing something good with a good group of people is a wonderful way to spend a few hours. And that's my story of being a garbage collector for the OLOG group.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to wrap it up just by showing you our logo. We have visions of having this on our big hoodies. And then more importantly, showing you again the, here is our email. So if you have any questions, and especially if you're interested in going to our volunteer event this June in Deep Pond, just email me and I'll make sure that you know exactly when it is and where it is. And you notice that that was olog dot. And you will see, although it is confusing and I apologize, the website is olog-mass.com. And we have a perfectly nice, but pretty static website. And now, Lucy, I'm going to turn it back to you for questions, if there are any.
Great, great. That was fascinating and some wonderful views of what's going on under the water and at the surface of the water. Thank you all. I actually have a question I'd like to start with. I hope that any of you in the audience who have questions will type them into the chat. The ladies here are happy to answer your questions. My first question is, when you come out of the water, dressed in your wetsuits and, mask and snorkel, what kind of reaction do you get from people on the shore?
Well, I know one of the reactions I got was, I think when Robin and Diane first moved to Falmouth, and Diane saw me and Mary in our black caps and black thing, she thought we were the FBI looking for bodies. But usually, what I think is the most wonderful about the reaction is the enthusiasm. When we come out, we are shaking either with cold or with laughter. One time we found a dog collar with a leash attached, and there were macabre jokes about whether or not we'd find the rest of the dog, but nobody wanted to take anything white out of the mud after that. Every expedition, there's a scouting expedition, then we pull a kayak in, then we do the job. Every expedition is a challenge. And when we're finished, it's a relief as well as a moment of pride. And we have our tea and eat our cookies. And people will come up to us at the edge of ponds and in food stores and thank us for what we're doing. And people of all ages, including men in the Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage. Sometimes we need them, and we have a few men who will come if we spot a tire or something really heavy, like a boat, to get out of a pond. But it is amazing. If every good deed for the environment was as much fun and as adventurous as what we do, we would have the cleanest ponds anywhere.
That's amazing.
Other reactions, other questions?
Well, another question I have actually from the first video, or was it the second video? They talked about the 996 ponds on Cape Cod. That's kind of a daunting number.
Many of them are under 4 acres, so we don't have to clean those up. I think we would have to hope that we could get chapters established in every town. That would be one of our hopes, because we can't really do much more. Also, there are a lot of, Mary mentioned great ponds. Great ponds are any pond that's over 10 acres, and every great pond in the Commonwealth has to have some form of public access. We're not in the business of cleaning up private ponds where no one can get to them except maybe a few residents.
Mm-hmm.
But that still leaves a lot of ponds.
Yeah, a lot. There is a question in the chat from Catherine. Kate, how deep in general are the ponds that you're diving in?
Most of the ponds on Cape Cod are kettle holes, and they will go down anywhere from maybe 30 to 60, occasionally a little deeper. The only other kind of pond on Cape Cod are perched ponds where they're on top of a lens of clay. But the garbage that we go after is certainly within about 10 feet, which covers a lot of the pond, the whole shallow edge. If we see something deeper, we'll make arrangements sometimes, except in a place like Hathaway Pond, where there's a car, there's a boat, and that in turn has attracted, it's become a junk museum. It's just full of statuary and stuff like that.
Wow.
We don't handle washing machines, especially if they have an eel in them.
Wow.
We've seen a lot.
I'm sure you've seen a lot. Yeah. Roseanne is asking, do the ponds that you clean tend to stay clean, or do you have to keep going back often?
I wish I could say that they stayed clean, but they don't. However, there are 2 ponds that we've cleaned probably 2 or 3 times, sometimes just to get the footage we needed for one of those videos. And we have found that the rate of littering slows down, especially once an article appears in the paper and people understand what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure, public interest and media attention and awareness is a huge boon. Really helps. Yeah. Oh, these are another one. When swimming, do you need to, from Kate again, maybe? When swimming, do you need to worry about getting caught in reeds or any other water plants?
No, we don't. We're never going to be able to find a beer can that is in the middle of a dense patch of water lily. I tend, depending on the pond, I tend to go ahead, because if there is a large male snapping turtle, I want to make sure that none of our swimmers gets between the snapping turtle and the deep water, because they don't like that. And then I'll direct them either way out or in. But I would say that the cold is our first enemy. We always wear gloves so we don't get cut. And snapping turtles are the only thing that we really keep an eye out for.
Occupational health hazards.
Yes.
Right.
Susan, I just want to add that we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's like Susan's out there in the front, dealing with the snappers.
Yeah.
Do you wear wetsuits or dry suits? And does that depend on, sorry?
Wetsuits.
Okay,
yeah.
So there's a temperature cutoff for you.
Yes, and it's because it takes so long. I mean, we were out today, we were swimming today. We have the coldest water I've ever swum in was 52 degrees, but you couldn't clean a pond at 52 degrees because you would get so cold in an hour. Right. So mainly we start in May and we end early November.
Okay, so yeah, 6 months. And how about during a regular pond cleanup session, does the kayak go back to shore and dump the laundry basket and then come back? Is that what you
Yes.
do, Diane? Yeah.
It's a big basket.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we don't, usually I could fit everything
Okay.
into the basket. And I'm very good at making sure that it's organized in a way that it does fit. You know, yeah.
Yeah, you pack it. You
I
it.
pack it, right, exactly. I'm a great packer.
Great. Okay, well, Susie says thank you for all this work. If anybody else has any questions, please let us know now. Otherwise,
I would like to
Helen.
add something about some other pond activities that are happening
Great.
besides us.
Great.
Both Susan and I are members of the Falmouth Water Stewards, and we're sponsoring under the leadership of Chris Neal an assessment of 35 ponds and waterways this June or July and November, December, so that we have a basis of understanding the quality of the water right now. So what happens down the road can be compared to that. We're looking for volunteers that live on those ponds, and I'm trying to gather the names. The APCC is also doing a smaller scale version where they're trying to get people to observe ponds as a satellite passes over, so they can check how the satellite imagery will affect, whether the water clearness is evident from the satellite, which would help in keeping track of things. So that you would sign up for that through them. The Water Stewards and APCC are doing regular cyanobacteria testing on all throughout the Cape. And we're having the Water Stewards is sponsoring a pond aquatic vegetation workshop at the West Falmouth Library on the 16th of June from 12 to 2 with a state representative. If anybody is interested in learning about IDing aquatic plants, they can contact me with about that. So.
Great, thank you for adding that. Linda says you inspire. Thank you. And if there are no more questions, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks all of you for joining us tonight. Thanks for all the work you're doing. Thanks for inspiring us and for doing a good deed for Falmouth, for the ponds, for our environment. I think your excitement is infectious, and obviously you're having a great time, and that's wonderful. So thanks for joining the 300 committee. Alex Lancaster says, you've made me smile. You are also happy being cold and doing good. On that note, thank you so much. And
Yes.
good night, everybody.
Good night.
Happy spring. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rome.